All right, we got episode 30 of the Realtor for Hoopers interview series. Man. Crazy, I've done 30 of these. But today's guest is a graduate of Eaglecrest High School in 2014.
Yes, sir.
Marquel Murphy.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you.
Appreciate you, man.
Every time I flick the wrist, you can bet that it's a switch. Realtor for Hoopers, welcome to the main event. I'ma give the people what they ask for. Whole squad moving like a task force. We move with military precision, accomplishing any mission. In 2020 division, just don't see no competition, don't see no opposition. We on top of the game, we not one and the same. I'm Stephen Curry, the range, I Allen out with the cross. I'm Kobe Bryant, the fade, I'm one that's calling the plays. Now what else more can I say?
Well, we start every guest with this question, and sometimes it can draw out as long as you want. So tell us your basketball story.
Man, I mean, I've been playing basketball since I was a kid, you know, similar to what you have going here on Friday mornings, or Friday mornings. Just growing up around the game, my dad played ball a lot. So just being able to watch from a young kid standpoint, that kind of brought my love for the game out. Yeah. You know, I had a typical high school kid career, you know, freshman playing freshman, sophomore playing sophomore, JV, varsity. So I wouldn't say it was a spectacular story, but, you know, I was one of those kids who, against adversity, I kept pushing.
Cool.
You know, so I made it through the high school season, made it through that. No offers. No offers. So for me, it was, I had a lot of pride and a lot of chips on my shoulder.
Yep.
You know, I wanted to prove a lot of people wrong. So showcase after showcase after showcase, I finally got picked up at a JUCO. Colorado Northwestern out in Rangeley. Shout out there. Yeah. I actually spent 3 years there. Not a lot of people know that. So I played my freshman year, had a great season, came off the bench, but had a great season. Last game of that freshman year, I go up, try to dunk, stress fracture in my foot. So that any sort of traction I had with coaches, that fell off right there. So, you know how JUCO goes. So redshirted that year, came back, had a mediocre sophomore year. You know, I was hooping, but it could have been better. Then transfer out, same situation. Now it's time to find a university. So for me, it was back to more showcases, All-American stuff. So I got picked up at a school out in Chicago, Robert Morris University. I played there 2 years. Right, I was under a good coach there. He played in the NBA, he played overseas. So for him, it was, I learned a lot of taking care of your body, nutrition, you know, that side of things. From there, overseas was a struggle. You know, overseas was thinking about climbing to the JUCO phase and then climbing to the university phase. Overseas became a whole another ball game with connections. So, you know, agents, you know, passports here, passports there. Leagues, right? Some countries have so many levels to them that, you know, you might get over there and you're in 4th, 5th division, right? So,
and you really, sometimes you don't even know until you're already over there.
Right. Yeah. So it was a gamble, but for me, like I said, I had something to prove. Right. I felt like I was overlooked a lot, you know, and coming from Colorado gets overlooked a lot.
For sure.
So when it comes couple guys making it out, now you got your bottom barrel guys who are scrapping at the bits. I'll take anything. And that's kind of me, you know. I took what I could get.
Appreciate it. That's awesome, man.
Made the best out of it. So.
I think it's good for people to hear that, like, everybody that played overseas didn't have a clean line there. It wasn't like, hey, you played high-level high school ball, high-level D1 ball, and you didn't make it in the league, so you go overseas. Like, it's not like that.
No.
The vast majority of their stories like you or people that just are trying to find a spot, you know. So it's good for people to hear, especially young players to hear that there's lots of ways to play pro ball or even play college basketball, you know. So there's lots of ways to get there. So we'll go back to your basketball story, but one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, and we just got done playing, so we're a little sweaty here, but
just a little bit.
But something I always appreciate about your game is that you're like, no matter where you're at, you always are bringing energy. You're always bringing communication. 100%. No, you everyone always knows you're there on the floor.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You know, everybody's hearing you, right?
Yes.
So I appreciate that a lot because that's something I've had to try to learn and try to get better at, but that's just kind of like not inherently me.
Yep.
So is that something that like you've always had, or was that a skill you developed, or some coach kind of spoke to you about, or like talk to me about that?
It's a skill that I had, but I really honed into it as I grew. Right. So going back to watching the old guys play, right? Watching my pops get up and down and listening to talk stuff and listening to how they communicate on the floor. When you look at some of the talent, you're like, maybe he shouldn't be on the floor.
Yeah.
But he's on the floor because he plays hard. Yeah. He's talking on defense. He's moving with the ball. So for me, I kind of picked up on that being one of those low-level guys, fourth, fifth option type of player.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? How do I maximize my minutes?
Yep.
Right? Do I want to be on the bench clapping? Or would I prefer being in the game playing? Right. So for me, it was, this is going to keep me on the floor, and it'll give me opportunities to either get more shots, touch the ball, whatever the case may be. So I used that as a tool as I got up and up and up. And now it's just in me. If I don't talk if I don't talk or I'm not active, I just feels off. It just,
you don't know how not to do it.
Yeah, no, my motor is what feeds my confidence. Really, If you don't hear me talking, I'm probably having a bad day or a bad game, or I'm not looking the best. But for me, it's if I can help my teammates out. Right, so not all 5 guys know where they're supposed to be, who they're guarding.
Sure.
So if they can hear me, that helps them. That helps us. We ultimately have the same goal. So it's definitely a skill that I honed. You know, that I kind of, I talk here, I might talk some stuff to this person, but overall the energy it's non-negotiable for me, you know.
To me, it's such an underrated skill, because playing on a court with someone like you that has that energy and someone that's talking, whether it's talking trash or talking to their teammates or whatever, the atmosphere on the court is just 100% different.
100%.
You know, so, and I'd rather have it that way than it just kind of feeling dead out there and like, what are we doing out here? You know, so.
Also, I mean, for me, I want, anytime my young kids are watching me play, I want them to understand the importance of the communication side from a coach looking at a player trying to recruit it, or just as they're watching you guys in your AAU games. If you're quiet, not saying anything, he probably skipped you. You know, now if you were active, you were talking, whether you were making shots or missing shots, that little bit of communication could be the make or break of the scholarship.
For sure, man. Well, cool. All right. Well, next question. You played overseas in Kosovo.
That was my first place.
And Dublin, Ireland.
Yes, sir.
So, and I know every situation is very unique, and it's I know you're not going to be answering this question on the whole country or the whole city or whatever. But tell me about those situations and the pros and cons of each. You know, Kosovo, I would say, was probably the most difficult situation for me. It was coming off of COVID. Right? So it was one of those situations where they knew who I was. My agent that I had at the time kind of helped me get that, but it was low level. You know, it was like 2nd division of Kosovo. So it wasn't the top league. But, you know, for me, like I said, I'll take whatever I can get. So I got there. I had a great season there. Eventually, I got moved out of there. But from Kosovo overall, language barrier for me was the biggest. That's tough.
Was the biggest hurdle.
Always is tough.
Right. The only person that spoke English was one teammate. One teammate and our basketball manager. So everywhere I went, he had to go so he could translate, so he could read the menu, so he could order food for me,
That's
breakfast,
tough.
lunch, dinner. You know, so that kind of sucked, not being able to communicate with a lot of people. Now, some people spoke English, but just kind of being out there by myself.
Yeah, that's tough.
6-7 months, really not. Just kind of apartment to the gym, back to the apartment. So it was similar to JUCO. It was one of those where you either want it and you're going to fight through, you're going to figure it out, or you don't. So I toughed it out, and eventually my next season I ended up in Dublin, which I played Super League there. So I played in their top league there. And, you know, everybody speaks English there. The vibe is way different. You know, the phones are better. Everybody's out. So it was very American-like there. You know, now cultures are different, food is different, but there I felt like this is what most high-level guys experience. You know, from from a vibe to being able to socialize, meet new people. You know, so some of my teammates there I became close friends with. You know, so for me, overseas was an experience for me personally. You know, it was one of those things where I knew I could do it this whole time, and I just had to get it on paper. So once I did that, I felt accomplished. You know, I still feel like I'm young. I can still probably do it a little bit, but
I think it's no matter where you are, if that's like, especially in your story where it's like you've been cut or you've played at a lower level and whatever, and be able to get to a place where you're like, I'm playing in the highest league in the country. Like there's a
with
little
other pros.
Is that like, you're saying, and that's just that internal confidence that you have for the rest of your life. Like, look, I could have very easily quit 36 times.
I could have quit as a freshman. When Coach was kicking me out of open gyms, I could have quit as a freshman.
But like,
I kept coming back.
Here I am.
Coming back. So
that's awesome, man. Well, cool.
It was a good experience.
Good, man. Good. All right. Well, so now you've started a kind of, not only have you started a training business, but you also do a lot of player development stuff with Smoky Hill High School.
Varsity assistant over there.
Love it. Cool. So I guess I would say, in general, describe yourself as a trainer. Like, what is something you always like key on, or just in general, how would people describe you?
I would say, from a spectator watching me coach or watching me train, they'd probably have a similar opinion to how people watch me play.
Okay.
I give that same effort, that same kind of passion that I carry on the court. I want my players to have that same type of passion.
Okay.
Right? If you're working hard, if you're putting in game time reps, if you're doing it the right way, then you'll get rewarded. Right? If you're going to go slow here, take reps off here, take plays off here, in the game, that's who you're going to be. You're going to be a take a rep off, take a play off. And if I can get kids to see, how you are and your character, we'll get you a scholarship before 25 points a game will. That's what I'm trying to get a lot of my young guys to experience. So for me, I'd say my energy is just,
it's always there.
Motor is always there. Coaching 8 a.m. club ball. Everybody's like, who is the coach screaming over there at 8 a.m.? You know what I mean? Like, and for me, it rubs off on my players. If they're lackadaisical, they had a long night, they were playing too much Fortnite. Once they start hearing me get rowdy, get in the game,
here we
now
go.
They're like, oh, okay, coach can do it, I can do it. He's not even playing, and he's got this type of energy.
I'll respond to it.
Right. So that's probably the biggest thing I would say. Even coaching with Smoky Hill, you hear me on the bench. Right. You hear me on the bench the whole game. There's some games where it might be just quiet in the gym and you hear me screaming or yelling at a player or guy behind you. So for me, it's just getting them to understand communication is cool. Communication is the right way to play the game.
For sure.
So
I love it, man. Cool. All right. So then I know you haven't been doing it for too long, but I know you probably have one. Tell me like a powerful story or a story that kind of builds you up as far as a certain player or team or something where you're like, man, it's really cool that I was a part of that kid's story, or
honestly, I don't know if I have a specific story.
Okay.
But the type of players, athletes, college players, high school kids, even middle school kids, the type of players that I attract, in my opinion, are very similar to who I was as a kid.
Okay.
You're kind of right on that line between being really good and hanging it up. Right. So for me, just if I can get a kid who he plays middle school ball, he's trying to make B team or C team or A team, can I get you to that next level? And then once you get to that level, can I get you to the next level? So for me, it's every time I see a kid get better, that warms my heart. Right. Cool, every time I see a kid who, for example, one of the girls I trained with at Cherokee Trail High School, coming off of 2 injuries, right? Counted her out. Everybody told her she's not going to play. She's not going to do this. I had her for about 1.5 years, working her out. She's playing at a JUCO now.
That's awesome.
So she just wrapped up year 1 there. Hopefully year 2 is coming back. So for me, just stories like that. Where everybody's go play ball. Whatever the level is, go play 4 more years, because not everybody gets to do it.
For sure.
Some people that senior year, they throw that cap up. 9 to 5. Or just the school. Right. Which is fine, but give yourself that opportunity. Open that door. right? I don't like closing doors on anybody.
Yeah.
You know,
if you love the game, go play wherever you can.
Whatever the level is.
Yeah.
And now in today's age, some of the kids it's the hype.
Yeah,
You know? If it's not D1, nobody really wants to do it. If it's not D2, go play ball.
Yeah.
Why not? You're young. You put all this work in.
And to me, like, even like in my story, like, I knew I was self-aware enough, like, I'm not going to go play in the league.
Yeah.
Like, I know that.
Right.
But like, I'm trying to be on this college team.
Right.
Or whatever.
Right.
As long as I can, because the moment I graduate or the moment my eligibility is gone,
it's over.
Like, I'm playing in men's leagues and programs and things like that, which is a whole lot different, you know, like, but anyways. But yeah, and I think what's also cool about like trainers and things like that is, and I've experienced this a little bit as a coach, is you like either like a certain play or a certain action or a certain move you've been working with a player, and then it's like gets in the game and it works out perfectly, or they do that move and it clicks, and you're like,
and you see their their eyes light up and they're like, finally, I got
That's what we've been talking about.
So that is another plus too. It's just
that like that rip through one dribble pull up or something like that. You're like,
something simple, layups going this way, or left hand layups, free throws, even just tweaking some kids' shot form. You know, just getting them to understand it's not the end of the world if it doesn't go your way first time.
For sure.
Try again. Getting kids confidence at a young age, because you know confidence will carry you
for sure.
You know, to now. You need confidence to play in these runs.
For sure. Especially as a 41-year-old man.
Gotta have it. Have it.
So, all right. So now we got a little bit of a kind of more fun question. So, today is March 21st. So it's the day of the second round of the NCAA Madness tournament.
A couple upsets.
Yeah, a couple upsets. But this is going to go live. The podcast is going to go live on April 2nd, which is the Wednesday before the Final Four. So I'm going to ask you right now who you got in the Final Four, and when we post this, we're going to find out if we're wrong or not.
You know, I've got Florida, Michigan, and then I've got Duke, Tennessee.
Duke, Tennessee. Okay, so I'm not too far off. So I've got Florida. I've got Duke.
Okay.
I think. Gosh.
Final Four full of one seeds.
No.
Okay.
No. I for some reason I kind of like Michigan State.
Okay. Yeah, Michigan State's going crazy
on that. So I forget what bracket they're in, and then Tennessee. Yeah, Tennessee. Okay. So we have three of the same four. So we all have Florida, Tennessee, and Duke.
Michigan
and then it's
State, that's
Michigan
not a bad
State.
One. We're both in the same state, so
yeah. But man, like it'd be fun, man. It's
you never know when it gets to that
it's
tournament.
Every Hooper's favorite time of year.
Yes, for sure, because that's where the real work shines.
Yeah,
that's where all the 5 a.m. conditioning, all the hard practices, all the film sessions, all the down and backs.
Yep,
that's where it's like this is where it all.
And there's something about this tournament where the team that's not supposed to win. That's why these upsets are so powerful. And the moment that the higher seeded team has that doubt, and you see it, you're like, I don't know if they believe right now. And then the higher seed's like, we can win this game. And they just start playing even more free because it's like we have nothing to lose.
We got nothing to lose. No, everybody was already counting us out.
Yeah. So I think it's
the underdog
cool.
story.
For sure, man.
Always.
For sure, man. All right. Well, 2 more questions. Second to last question is, in general, I know you've said it a little bit in this, but like, what is one thing you want to make sure that everyone takes away from your story?
Bet on yourself. 100%. 10 times out of 10, if you can bet on yourself, bet on yourself. Man. Right? Don't let anybody convince you that the other route is the better route. If you think and you know in your heart this is where it's gonna take me, take it.
Yep.
100%.
And I think I love that statement because doesn't mean bet on yourself means like that coach is stupid for cutting me or whatever.
Right.
Like it's bet on myself. Okay, I gotta go put more work in, or I'm gonna go this other way, and I'm gonna keep on like that. It's that bet on yourself rather than just be like, oh, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Like, well, there's something you can learn from every situation.
Have the identity to know when you need to get better.
Yeah,
and when you're like, oh, I've too much dip for my chip.
So betting on yourself is like, all right, well, actually, I'm going to work out twice a day now.
Right.
You know, stuff like that. Like
the standard.
Yep.
The discipline, up the standard. Don't let anybody outwork you.
Yep, for sure.
Don't let anybody outwork you.
All right, last question. Sometimes it's the hardest one to answer.
Okay.
What is your favorite thing about basketball? You got to pick one thing.
Oh, man. My favorite thing. You know, I'd say the freedom that basketball gives me. When I play basketball, I got no problems. I got no worries. It's the 4 lines and the orange ball.
I call it active therapy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like rain, snow, hail, bad day, good day. I go hoop a little bit. Makes everything better.
Appreciate
so that. Definitely the freedom that the sport brings you. It's just the flow. Just being able to be yourself.
Love
do
it,
what
man.
you do. So
it's so cool, man. Yeah, it's a beautiful game, man.
Definitely.
So
definitely.
All right, Marquel.
I appreciate you.
Appreciate you, man.
Thanks for having me, my man.
Every time I flick the wrist, you can bet that it's a switch. Realtor for hoopers, welcome to the main event.